Hey friends, Patrick Antrim here. I'm helping companies just like yours hire the right people, put an end to that recruiting pain point and that problem in your business once and for all, and help you become the company everyone loves. Now think about that. How would you like to have a company that everyone loves? Your investors, your customers, your employees. Think about what you could do in your business unit. Think about the expansion that you can create for your business. Or maybe you're a leader, think about what you could do for your company. How could you take your career to the next level if you could actually solve that pain point for your business unit or your company, right? This is a big challenge that there's a lot of noise around the industry about recruiting is a problem, talent is a problem. It's our number one issue in the industry, and I'll tell you that people are thinking about these things the wrong way. We are not doing the math correctly. And the answers, you see, organizations, they already have them. So I want to create this video to help you identify those solutions, bridge that gap from here's where we are, here's where we want to go, and I'm going to provide you a solution to get there. So I have a few notes over here on my chalkboard I want to go through. And the first one is when we think about the way that we approach acquiring companies, acquiring properties, these types of major acquisitions, we have a team that gets involved. We have experts. We hire attorneys to transact the business, make sure things are compliant. That's a very important process. And that attorney is not there to sell you information or sell you an idea. That attorney is to get you the result you want, the acquisition of the deal. And if you look at the way that we build a property, I remember when I was doing development, we looked at land, and the city gets involved in the demographics, the amount of units, the unit mix, what type of demographics are needed in the community. There's traffic studies with parking ratios. You have traffic studies with how many cars pass by that street, impacting 200-300 more residents into this community. What's that pressure going to be like on the traffic signals, the turn signals? Do we need to widen the road because there needs to be a ingress and egress into the property? These types of things, and there's a lot of study from architectural. You have the landscape architectural, you have retaining walls and slopes, and all of these things that go into play to create the perfect outcome. And then the designer comes in and the management team comes in. You talk about who's going to live there before there is even a property. There is a lot of money, commitment to the numbers, the financials, lending, lumber costs, all of these things that go into creating something. And if you could just think about the way that we approach recruiting, is we don't approach it that way. When we're trying to find people, we're acquiring something too, an asset. A moving asset, one that's hard to find, not as easy as building and developing a property, but certainly the approach is not the same, and that's why we struggle in this process. So many CEOs are now paying attention to this because it's starting to hit the P&L line. It's starting to look like we cannot compete in the industry. We cannot keep our costs at running this high. So we've got to really solve this. Well, I can tell you, you already have the answers within your organizations because you've probably got amazing people working on your team. So think about this. Imagine you want to build a new apartment community and you decide you're going to buy the land, and then immediately after you buy the land, you rush out to Lowe's and you start putting 2x4s and you're buying fixtures and plumbing and all these things. You're doing things in that sequence. It seems laughable, right? You have no plans. You can't communicate to the subcontractors what needs to be done. You just start building. And when you build stuff like that, you end up constantly fixing the problems because you didn't build it right, it wasn't planned right, you didn't have the right people doing it right, it's not to compliance or code, or perhaps you built something that customers don't even want because you didn't bring in the right architect with the right design plan, the right landscape plan. The city didn't help you because you overbuilt. These types of things are happening in recruiting. We're just rushing the process. We're constantly reacting to the business because we have done nothing in the last 18 months to really strategically build the brand and attract the right people into the role. So I want you to take for a minute here to think about who's really in charge of recruiting for the company. Is it the CEO? Is it the HR manager, talent acquisition, property manager, regional manager? Who really is in charge? And think about, when you look at the data for all of Americans, US Americans on the Gallup poll that was studied, it says that 70% of company or people that go to work are either actively disengaged or just disengaged from work. That means that out of 10 people in the boat, 7 of them are either not rowing or rowing against you. That means you only have 3 people out of 10 that are actually aligned with growing your business. That is problematic. And so even if you've got all the recruiting in place and you're doing all the ads and you're doing all these things, you still have 70% that are just not happy within the organization or not engaged or not fulfilled. So that's a problem. And so we've got to fix that first. And we have our research, the best places to work multifamily, that researches companies across the nation in all 50 states now, north of 2 million units. And it looks at how to create high levels of engagement within your organization to first become a great company. And once you become a great company, then people will want to be part of that. Now, I don't think people are telling the story effectively enough, and that's why they continually struggle to find the right people. So, looking at that data, every week we look at how many rented, what's the price per square foot, what is the competition doing, what are we doing financially. Your third-party managers are reporting date certain reports every month about your P&L data. But the one key leading indicator on that report is the recruiting information, the recruiting costs, the investment in that, and how that drives that top-level revenue is not there. So we're not asking the right questions. If you look at the cost that we spend to train, retrain the wrong people in some cases, recruit, background screening, all of these problematic changes that occur when turnover happens, it's costing us 10 times, 100 times maybe, what it would cost to actually do it right. And so, what are we doing wrong, right? What is happening that people are not getting this? Well, first of all, the leading indicator, when I was hiring management companies across the country, one of the things that I would look at is their ability to acquire top talent, that regional manager's ability to put great people on site. It all came down to that. And all the companies were great. The problem was you hire one company and all of a sudden the company is great, and then all the VPs and regional managers go to the other company, and you now have a different company running your operation. So how do you actually create that type of value for someone? Well, our training in our industry, which is a big challenge today, is focused on information versus transformation. So for us, when we're working with a company to solve the recruiting problems, we're looking at creating results for the client, right? We're not offering information for the client. They come to us because they want a result. And so when you think about bringing somebody into your organization, what kind of result can you create for your employee? So the number one question you've got to be asking your organization and your teams and guiding your business is, how can I create the best possible outcomes for my employees? And if you can do that, they're going to expand and they're going to become more, they're going to show up for more in your business, and they're going to do things that are going to go beyond what you would normally expect from somebody that's engaged or disengaged. And so think about, really, your customer is your employee. And when you solve for that customer, you get somebody that solves for your paying customer, your resident or your client customer. And then if you solve for that, you get the investor account customer satisfied, or the owner customer. And it's the only way from the inside out to really deliver these challenges. But I want to challenge you today to think about, you don't have a recruiting problem. I mean, you think about championship sports teams. They don't go on press conferences and say they can't find talent. That would be embarrassing to their organization. They have scouts, they have data, they go where the talent is. They don't just put an ad up, hey, we need a quarterback or a shortstop. They actually invest the dollars, and that HR, the general manager, is one of the most important people in their business.